how I made this shot. First, I started by downloading this 3D model from Sketchfab. First, I brought this into Houdini so I can start creating my USD asset, optimized the geometry a little bit, and brought it into my world center. After that, I created my render and proxy geo. Then I started my process of creating this into a USD asset. Afterwards, I created a top network to add my USD asset into my layout asset gallery so I can bring this into my shots later on. Afterwards, in my scene file, I brought in my fighter plane. I also duplicated that fighter plane and moved it a little bit further back. I added a cache node so I can start rendering my motion blur. I created my environment light to match my plate, a sunlight to control later on, and a bounce light for the water underneath. I lined up my camera based on my footage. To do that, I created a tree placeholder so I can match my camera to the real-life camera on set that day. I knew I shot with a 50mm lens, so I left my camera settings at 50mm and an aspect ratio of 16:9. To create my smoke trails, I imported my planes, then I unpacked my geometry, blasted the points that I needed, instanced some spheres onto them, and used those spheres as a particle simulator for my scene. I adjusted my p-scale, my density, and I used a volume rasterize attribute to create a smoke trail. I blended both smoke trails from plane 1 and plane 2 onto my scene and created my smoke trails. At the end, I rendered out my plane 1 separately, plane 2, and my smoke trails all so I can composite them later on. And after some minor compositing, that's